the Austrian GP won by Lando Norris in a McLaren 1-2, a Ferrari on the podium as well, Charles Leclerc in third. That was a bit spicy, wasn't it, Sam?
I thoroughly enjoyed that. It's hot, hot, hot across all of Europe. And you think, surely it's not going to get any spicier, and it blooming did. What a race we had. What a battle between the McLaren duo. Lots of fun up and down the grid as well. You know, it really looked like there was lots of action for all places, which was great fun. We had spins, we had crashes, we had battles on the track. Austria just delivers, and we'll get into it in more detail another time. But we're getting another blooming 16 years of the thing, which is fantastic as well, extended to 2041. Harry, you're going to be in your 40s when we finish that contract. How did you find it?
Mid-40s is what I worked out this morning, and that is disgusting. But I'm happy that we are going back here for many, many years, because Austria does always deliver. It wasn't a classic, but it was a good race. It was a good race. Good, solid race.
Oh, it's a proper solid race, that is.
Yeah, meaty. So, yeah, I'm glad we're going back. Always love Austria.
Well, yes, like you say, we've got plenty more years of it, but at least for today's review, moment of the race coming up a little bit later on, driver of the day, worst driver of the day. We've got battling throughout the midfield, as Sam has already referenced, plenty to get into there. Let's start out front, though. The two McLaren drivers, Lando Norris defeating Oscar Piastri, converting his pole position. Wasn't plain sailing. Quite a few near misses, particularly in the first stint. So we'll start from Norris's point of view, Sam. How impressed were you with his performance and the ability to defeat his teammate?
First 20 laps, I was worried. I must admit, the gap was far smaller than I expected. Piastri was doing a brilliant job at staying within DRS range. I thought, there's no way that these tyres should be surviving. Like, he should not be this close to Norris for this many laps. You think, is it a lack of pace from Norris's point of view? Is Piastri just able to do everything but get that final move done in the DRS zone, which would be quite uncharacteristic of Piastri? But Norris, I think, executing a really clever, sensible, well-run race. I think he did a brilliant job at managing everything as he went through, especially in the latter stages as we built towards traffic. Traffic became a real part of this battle. It became a real part of the story. And I do think that we've seen it in the past where traffic can make or break a battle for a race win. And there were moments where it affected both drivers really heavily. You know, the gap was about 6.4 seconds after the final pit stop round. And you think, Piastri's let this one go too long. The traffic makes an impact. The gap's only down to 3 seconds. It's then down to 2 seconds. It's then down to 1.7 seconds. You think, okay, it's now going back the other way. But then the traffic swings again. Regardless of all that going on, Norris, in a very high-pressure scenario, where we've seen him make really poor mistakes historically, has done a really brilliant job at holding off Oscar Piastri, who I think did pretty much everything he could have done. There was one moment that I do think he should have gone for a move, and instead he held back to try and play it clever, play it smart. I think that maybe backfired on him. But Norris did a good job defending, always considered, always clean, put the car in the right place wherever it needed to be, got the exits out of the corners he needed to get the exits for. This was a really, really brilliant drive from Lando Norris, and a deserving victory for him.
Harry, I was trying to think my way through Lando Norris's catalogue of victories to this point. And I'm happy to be corrected, but this feels like maybe the first win Lando Norris has taken where it hasn't necessarily been, he's been the fastest driver, he's kind of just plain sailing out front. This felt like one where he had to hold his nerve, and he did.
Yeah, he had to work for this. And as I was watching this, I was thinking, these are all the lessons that he learned from this race last year. Like, he spent a good time watching Max Verstappen defend from himself, as in from Lando Norris, not Verstappen just defending from himself, although could happen. But yeah, he was superb. His defense was superb, even when Piastri, so much so that Piastri had to go for that rash move just before they boxed. And I assume that was because he knew that Norris was about to come in and wanted to be the first driver, so he got preference. So I was super impressed by this. He held his nerve. There was only one error, I think, into the final corner, which we saw a replay of, and obviously that's when Piastri got the closest, I think, because of that. But for the rest of it, he held his nerve when Piastri was for the first 20 laps behind him the entire way. So like Sam said, I was super impressed with how Norris handled that. And then from there it was kind of done. I know Piastri went for the offset delta, and that meant he could come back at him towards the end of the race, and there was lap traffic. But again, Norris held his nerve. Could have easily made mistakes and got caught up in traffic, as Piastri actually did with Colapinto. Although I'm not going to blame Piastri for that one. This was exactly the race Lando Norris needed. I think whether or not McLaren had the pace to win, which it obviously did, by far and away the quickest car today, I think he needed that race versus Piastri off the back of Canada, no matter whether it was for a win or for second or for fifth. I think it was just super important, and it will help build momentum into home GP week for Lando. So yeah, very impressed by him today.
Yeah, so was I. And from a pace perspective, that was very good, and that's not the first time we've seen that from him. But we've seen these sorts of races where, let's say Monaco this year or Abu Dhabi last year, where Lando Norris he's just been the quickest driver, and he was able to, following was a bit difficult at both of those races, and he's able to control things. I think this was a better win for him right now than what one of those wins would have been. I think this type of victory should give him a lot of confidence that he can go ahead and do something like that again, because as you say, he was facing pretty much constant pressure for 20 laps of this Grand Prix. Even when Oscar Piastri isn't quite in a position to overtake, there's still pressure because Norris knows one small error coming out of turn one or the final corner, that is going to give Piastri an opportunity to overtake. Piastri was consistently within that DRS. And as you said, Harry, like the way in which he defended, I don't think we get that from Norris this time last year. I think he has learned some lessons from his previous battles here versus Max Verstappen. The one where Piastri was closest and actually did very briefly get an overtake done, the way in which Norris maximized the angle of that turn three, like he just goes as far to the left-hand side of that corner as he possibly can, almost giving up the position temporarily, knowing that he's going to have that slingshot to get the opportunity to re-overtake. That was clever. That was good wheel, as the kids might say. And thanks, mate. Nice. And that was great. And, that gave him the opportunity to re-overtake. Again, I'm not sure we get that from Norris in races and years past. So excellent work from him. The championship advantage, it's 15 points. That's nothing with, over a dozen races to go in the year. So he's in a good spot. From Oscar Piastri's perspective, Sam, does he take this as a good result? He's still on the podium. He's still in second place, and it's only 7 points he's lost to his teammate. Where does it land for him?
5-6 races ago, I think he would have taken this as a good result. I think he would have looked at this and gone, less than 2 seconds away from my teammate. We're still new to the season here. I've done well to finish in second place. But I think we're seeing a whole new different Oscar Piastri. We saw in qualifying how frustrated he was with what happened with the yellow flag, with the fact that he didn't get a banker in that probably should have seen him sitting on the front row. He did a really good job of getting past Leclerc super early in this Grand Prix that meant he got an immediate run at his teammate. But there were a couple of instances where, usually we don't critique him for this. I think he should have got the move done. The one where he did get past Lando Norris, I think it was brilliant the way Lando Norris defended. Oscar Piastri should have invented something. It should have allowed him to get that job done. And then there was another chance when Lando Norris came out of the final 2 corners. He ran into the gravel both times, going onto the start-finish straight. And it allowed Oscar Piastri to close up to about a tenth going into the first corner. He should have got that move, slam shut, done, defend. You go and have a defensive move. And he chose purposely to hold off. And that actually allowed Lando Norris to have another go at being in front again, and the opportunity disappeared. So I think, frustratingly for Oscar here, he'll come away from this disappointed. And I don't blame him. I really don't blame him. When you're that close to being a race winner and you've been that good throughout this season, he should be disappointed. He should be a little bit frustrated that his teammates got the better of him here, because time after time, we've seen that Piastri can be the better of the two drivers. And at almost every turn, it feels like he was dealt not the worst hand, almost he chose the worst hand, because I also think that the Delta call was the wrong call. To stay out later, to lose time after being undercut by Lando Norris, to come out 5-6 seconds back with a slightly poor pit stop, admittedly. I think that was the wrong call. I think it gave him too much to do. Then he had to deal with Colapinto, not his fault, but that set him back even further. You're just opening up yourself to more and more problems. I do think that Piastri will probably come away from this one being a little bit disappointed in the fact that despite starting behind Norris, he had ample opportunity to get in front of him and win this race, and he didn't, which is quite uncharacteristic for him.
Harry, where do you think this race could have gone differently for Oscar Piastri? Was it the inability to get the overtake done on the first stint? Was it the time that he lost after the pit stop, where it seemed like that gap was stable at around 5-6 seconds for a little while? Where do you think this could have gone differently?
Yeah, I think around that lap 20-21 point. So when he didn't get the move done the first time, he then has a sort of last minute go before Norris boxes. It doesn't pay off. He loses time. He also gets a flat spot. I'm with Sam. I get the logic of it going for the sort of delta and trying to attack later on, but he lost more. They were like, "Do you want a 1.5 second delta or a 4?" And he was like, a 4, and he came out with a 6. So it didn't pay off. I know he had a slow stop, but he also had that flat spot. And I think even he was saying, "I don't think I can show you any pace now because I've ruined that right front tire with the overtake attempt." So yeah, I think that you could point that it went wrong. They made a point in Sky commentary after the race. The Colapinto incident, did that cost him a bit of time versus, the way he ended up at the end of the race? And arguably, potentially, yeah, but that's just unlucky. But for the most part, I don't think there's many things you can point to apart from that strategy call. We have praised Oscar Piastri immensely for just rocking up and getting moves done. And I know it's a difficult one at Austria. Not difficult to overtake, but it's difficult because there's so many DRS zones. I think he'll look back at the opportunity when Norris went wide out of the final corner and he didn't nail him there, because that was the best opportunity. And I think he might kick himself for that one. It's hard to know. I think pace-wise, they were very similar. It probably looked like Piastri was quicker because he was just sat in he'd get dragged along so easily. I mean, look at Alonso. He just got dragged along by Liam Lawson all race. So I think he did that for extra top speed.
We could go this quick?
He's like, whoa,
what's me?
But yeah, but that proves the point. I think that made Piastri maybe not look quicker than he seemed, but I think it certainly helped his pace. So yeah, I don't think he can be too harsh. I think, at one point, at some points in the race, it could have been worse. If the move had gone wrong, he lost his front wing, etc. Yeah, I think he'll be okay. It's a long season, and we've seen this swing backwards and forwards between Norris and Piastri a lot. So I don't think he'll be overly annoyed. The qualifying yesterday in the end didn't make a difference because he was P2 by turn
good
1.
Start.
Great start.
Yeah, it was a very good start, and he played that beautifully with obviously Leclerc pinched on the inside. So I don't think it's too much that Piastri can be annoyed at. He gave it a good go. I think it's probably just the strategy call and maybe not nailing that. The best attempt he had, not nailing that the first time. But as we said, Norris played it beautifully. So hard one to criticize him for.
Yeah, I think this was probably lost in two locations. Like the first one was that opportunity into turn 1. I think he should have gone for that. And I understand the logic of trying to wait behind, but there is an opportunity there, possibly, if he gets the overtake done and he doesn't have a great exit because he's the one on the inside trying to get that overtake done. If Lando Norris re-overtakes him before you get to turn 3, suddenly Piastri has the DRS for the next straight after that, and he has an opportunity into turn 4. So it might have actually, if you work the corners back, it might have been an advantage to make that move there and then. I think the other place where this was lost was the flat spot, because whilst I kind of agree with you on the 1.5 versus 4 debate and what you're playing with a delta, I actually think the right call was going for a bigger delta if he didn't get that flat spot. Because if he didn't get that flat spot, I'm pretty convinced that he would have been able to keep that gap to something like 4 seconds rather than 6 that it ended up being. and maybe McLaren can actually go a few laps longer. They ended up creating, I think, about 5 laps or so between the two drivers for that middle stint. I think they had, if he doesn't get that flat spot, I think they have the opportunity to push that even further. We saw that Liam Lawson was able to go 33 laps, and Alonso, I think, was pretty much exactly the same, maybe 1 or 2 more. He could have gone a little bit longer, I think, if he didn't get that flat spot. So that really did hurt him, I think, in the overall, the overall race. One thing I wanted to ask you, Sam, is a thought I had throughout the end part of this race. We saw that Bortoleto was closing up quite significantly on Alonso and Lawson, which we'll get into a little bit later on. But that was a 2-stop race versus a 1-stop race, very late on, sort of strategies converging. Oscar Piastri stops, I think it was lap 24 for the hard compound tyre, which means he would have needed to have gone 46 laps on the hard tyre to go to the end of the race. Given the Ferraris were completely out of the question and everyone else was as well, was there a case for Piastri around lap 50, 51 when Lando Norris decides to go into the pits? Is there a case for him to say, I'll try 1-stop. What have I got to lose?
I think Piastri would have believed that he could have got the move done on track with that 2-stop that they were both on. And I love that he has that belief. And I do think that had the flat spot not gone wrong, had that time that had extended, meant that every time he boxed, he came out behind traffic where Lando Norris came out in front of traffic. And all of this just costs you a little bit and a little bit and a little bit. And I think if dominoes don't fall that way at the start of the Grand Prix, I think Piastri believes on a 2-stop that matches Norris, he's got the ability to get past Norris and win this Grand Prix. It's not like he is Max Verstappen, should we say, or Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc was within 2 seconds of the McLarens for the first 20 laps, and Leclerc goes, we haven't got the outright pace here, but I'm kind of just clinging on. I'm going to go another 10 laps, and I'm going to do a 1-stop. I would have really commended the effort. I really would have thought, fall outside the box, no one behind you. Hamilton's 10 seconds back. You've got nothing to lose here. Give it a go. I think Piastri would have been gobbled up. I think Lando Norris would have pitted with 23 laps to go. And I think we saw the difference between Piastri after the flat spot and Norris and his fresh tyres. That was a second a lap at one point. That's how much he lost so quickly. I think if the tyres were 40 laps old and Norris is on new tyres, he's getting eaten up in 8-9 laps. And you saw the difference between Bortoleto and the Aston Martin, right? The Sauber and that Aston Martin are particularly different in pace. I think a fresh set on one McLaren and a 40-lap-old set on another, the difference there is going to be seconds because we know just how quick that McLaren is when it's at the peak of its powers. So I loved the ambition in the way some people tried the 1-stop, and we did see it work with some. I thought Lawson did a brilliant job at making that 1-stop work. And Alonso did a great job of kind of clinging onto his coattails and trying to ride that wave that the racing ball was pulling along. A fair play to them. They did a great job. I think it's a very different story up front where you need to be on your toes, trying to make the decision that is proactive. And I do think that Piastri would have lost by a bigger gap had he 1-stopped.
Any merit to a 1-stop, Harry?
I don't think it would have paid off. I think we saw with the likes of Lawson and Alonso, it obviously paid off for Lawson. Alonso, not that he lost out to Bortoleto at the end, but I think the 2-stop was clearly the quicker strategy. So I don't know. I can see why they might have tried to roll the dice, but given how close Piastri and Norris were pace-wise, I think it would have been. I'm with Sam. I think I think Norris gets past him and probably puts a bigger gap over him in the end. Who knows? It's worth. I guess you can argue it's worth the try. It's worth the gamble because you don't know what will happen. And not that it's early in the season anymore, but maybe a few races down the line, if that is the case again, Piastri and his side of the garage play that card. But I can understand today why they didn't.
The person who I'd like to have seen do a 1-stop was Lewis Hamilton.
Ferrari wouldn't they?
No, Ferrari. Yeah, they were not having it, were they? Get in the box, Lewis. Get in the box. I would have kept him out. He had nothing to lose. He was going to finish behind Leclerc anyway. The gap behind was 27, 28 seconds. Even after the pit stop rousing really happened, they obliterated Russell, and the Mercedes couldn't keep up in the heat. I kept him out there on the hards. If Leclerc catches him, you say, move out the way, please, Lewis. He's caught you at this point. I kept him out there just to see if it worked.
I think I would have made the pit stop just because if they were going for a win, I would agree. But because they were going for a podium and Hamilton's had enough of them, Leclerc's had enough of them, I think they had the opportunity to lock up good points over Mercedes and Red Bull. I think I'd have played it safe and just gone, we'll finish third and fourth. We don't care which way round. We don't want to risk any weird tyre blowing up or anything like that. I think I probably would have gone with what Ferrari did, but would have been interesting to see how it played out. Before we go to our first break, quick opportunity to review bold predictions. We're out of time. Never mind.
No, we're not. We've got so much time, Ben. So infinite time, actually. It's our show.
My soundboard's telling me we've got to go to break.
It doesn't talk like that. we need to review it right does, now.
Mate. I promise you that screen is telling me.
It's telling you to play a jingle, Ben. We don't even play it even do this bit, but you get the point.
No.
Lift music.
I'm just trying to drag on the bold prediction bit as long as possible.
All right. Harry, what was your bold prediction?
Max Verstappen would have a collision with another driver this weekend. So, he did.
I'm not sure that was...
Did he have a collision with another driver?
I mean, I would probably phrase it that Kimi Antonelli had a collision with Max Verstappen, but sure, he had contact with another car.
There you go. He had a collision with another driver. Man. I'm taking the point.
I thought you said that the McLarens were going to hit each other, but okay.
No, I said Verstappen.
Oh, fair. Well done. Thanks, Kimmy.
Yes, thank you very much, Kimi Antonelli. Which means Harry is on the board for bold predictions this year, which would mean we're at a 1-1-1 tie. Apart from Sam's got another one right. After qualifying 8th, your prediction of Gabriel Bortoleto finishing in the top 8 looked all right. It's exactly where he finished.
I was a little bit worried, actually, at the start. Until turn 3 happened, and then it was fine. But I was like, oh, he's not in 8th place anymore by the third corner. This is worrying. But he did a great job, performed well. I think it's the first time I've ever called a full sweep. I got pole 1, 2, 3 and the bold prediction correct this week. So very pleased.
Good effort, lad.
I bonus point for that? Did I get anything else?
No, you don't. I said that Oliver Behrman was going to finish inside the top 7. He finished 11th. Which is not
kind of rhymed with 7.
Yeah. And if there was any way of trying to get a point from that, I would take it, but I'm not even going to try.
One rhymed a lot with none.
Yeah. The logic was that he would have, and Haas would have pretty good race pace. I thought they did have all right race pace. They just started too far behind.
Yeah. Ocon was just also a little bit better.
Yeah. Ocon had the better of him today for sure. P3, P4 for Ferrari, so very much the second best constructor on the day, with Red Bull not able to score any points whatsoever and Mercedes scoring just 10 with a 5th place for George Russell. So 27 from Leclerc's 15 and Hamilton's 12. It matches Hamilton's best race result so far for Ferrari this season, of course, excluding the sprint win that he had in China. How did you evaluate their day, Sam? Was it good for them, or are you looking at that gap to the McLaren duo and going, oh, no?
My favourite thing about this result for Ferrari is that they've actually just put out an Instagram post of Lewis Hamilton with the caption, scoring the most points today in Austria. He has not, in any sense of the word, scored the most points, less than Leclerc. Ferrari scored less than McLaren. I don't understand where they've got this caption from.
Most of what?
I don't know. He hasn't beaten his previous best result either in a Ferrari. So I'm quite confused at that caption.
So are they.
Well, I'm Ferrari.
Taking away the most points from Austria. What are you talking about, Ferrari?
What does that mean?
You can't just say McLaren don't exist. That's not how it works.
We've won.
Or his teammate.
Excellent 1-2 finish today for Ferrari.
This is how Lewis Hamilton has the most wins in Formula 1. He never won. They just keep telling him he did.
I love that. McLaren erasure, but go on.
Okay, anyway, so that really made me laugh. No, I think this is good signs for Ferrari. I still think it's a minor step forward in a very big race. And McLaren surely felt more dominant here than we've seen them at any point so far this season. It felt like they were lapping pretty much up to 7th. They were pretty much lapping. They caught
here in Miami. I think those two.
Yeah, it was very dominant display from McLaren, but also well done to Ferrari for clearly being the second best car today. It feels like pretty much for the first time all season, they were outright the second fastest car. Verstappen, of course, didn't get the chance to show himself. the second Red Bull seat is just a big pile of poop, and Antonelli decided to wipe himself out on Max Verstappen, because Red Bull's only hope. So the Mercedes is just not good when it gets that hot. I mean, 50-degree track temperatures today. We've called them a bit of a jack of all trades. We've said they've improved, but we're like driving around in a furnace. Only Ferrari can survive such hell, and they did a good job at doing so. I thought what was really integral to the Grand Prix was the way that Hamilton fought Russell in the first couple of laps. I thought that made a real difference into how his race played out. Of course, not the best start. Russell gets pretty much in front of him, but he immediately fights back. Really, really good wheel-to-wheel battle, goes round the outside of him. Really, really impressed with how those two managed to fight each other. Just everyone take note of that. You see how they went side by side and didn't run each other off the road or didn't hit each other? That's really good racing, that. Enjoyed that a lot. More of that, please. Because if you looked at the gap after the second pit stop between Hamilton and Russell, like I said earlier, I think it was over 20 seconds. If Hamilton had been stuck behind Russell and the tyres had worn, the dirty air had kicked in, there's a real chance that the void between Leclerc and Hamilton, with Russell stuck in the middle of it, could have been over a pit stop today. I think Hamilton looks okay, being 8-9 seconds behind Leclerc over a full race course there. It's not the end of the world. It's pretty solid for them to be third and fourth, both cars clear of everyone else. But because of that battle, it could have been so drastically the other way. He could have been getting a world of hate. And we've seen it with Lewis Hamilton before, where he's had a bit of a naff start or something's gone wrong, where he's been caught up in something. He just gets stuck. He just cannot get through some of the traffic around him. And Russell's a tough customer to get past. So I think that was really important for him, for Ferrari. And I think they'll come away apparently thinking that they scored the most points in the Grand Prix. Quite happy with it. But it's a good step forward. It's a small step forward, but it is a step forward. Now, don't start developing the car to win the championship this year, Ferrari, because you've got a podium in a fourth place. Focus on next year. Accept that you did all right. Move on swiftly, because I fear that may be your downfall.
Counterpoint. They were first and second here. That's a great result.
They won.
All right. My question to you, Harry, was going to be, should they be happy about this? But I feel like they've answered their own question with, yeah, we're delighted.
They're delighted.
Yeah.
Yeah. I look, they'll take third and fourth or first and second, whatever they want to call it. But I am actually unsure whether they've made the step forward. I'm going to be optimistic and lean towards yes. But they were in a race where McLaren were dominant and Mercedes were crap, and Max Verstappen wasn't in it.
It's a fair point.
Yes.
Were they that good? I don't actually know. So I think the upgrades have worked somewhat. If they did bring the upgrades in the end, who knows? But yeah, I would like to reserve a little bit of judgment until we get to Silverstone next week and I guess Spa as well. But yeah, the loneliest of races. Maybe that's why they thought they won, because they didn't see anyone apart from themselves all afternoon. So yeah, a kind of tricky one to judge from my side, because if it was a little bit less, you got to be in it to win it. And Mercedes had their own troubles. Antonelli was out on lap one as well. Russell was clearly struggling with his tyres. But yeah, hard to know if it had been cooler and Max Verstappen was in it, where they actually would have ended up. I'd hazard to guess similar places, but maybe Verstappen is challenging Leclerc or Hamilton. Unsure. But yeah, they'll take the points away for sure. But it's kind of a bit of no man's land for them today, which it is hard for them to judge what is worth pursuing, I guess, from this, because do you keep what you're going for here? Do you keep trying to develop this car in the hope that you might catch McLaren? I don't think it's worth it, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see when we get to Silverstone. But take the W, take the first and second or third and fourth.
It's just a V though, because it's half a win. Like it's one podium and a fourth place.
I mean, after this, they're beating Mercedes, right? They're second in the constructors now.
Yeah, my on-the-fly maths has them a point ahead.
I believe they are 210 to Mercedes 29.
Yeah. You better not be celebrating this, Ferrari, because it's not that great. Sure, third and fourth is all right, but as you said, Harry, what did they actually beat? Like, they beat Verstappen and Antonelli that were out after 3 quarters. George Russell and the Mercedes that just as soon as they see a 2 in front of another number for degrees Celsius, they go, nope, don't want to do that. And then you've got Tsunoda hitting Colapinto. So I'm not quite sure what they've really accomplished outside of being 20 seconds behind the race leader in the case of Charles Leclerc and about 30 seconds behind in the case of Lewis Hamilton. Bear in mind, both McLarens were probably slower than they could have been towards the end with the amount of traffic and trying to get ahead of one another. This was fairly obviously McLaren's day. It's not even as if Leclerc was able to stick behind the McLarens for like a lap or two, right? It's not like he was able to keep hold of the DRS just to help. As soon as like the race started or the safety car came in, McLaren's just absolutely went off. Like there was no chance for them whatsoever. So, and of course as well, like one of the things that they are looking to achieve is less lift and coast throughout a Grand Prix with these upgrades. What do we hear about halfway through this race? They're still needing to lift and coast because they're worried about potentially the skid block. They beat their rivals. Good for them. They're ahead of Mercedes. They have a good chance of finishing second in this championship, but this is Ferrari. We should expect more from Ferrari. We want them to be competing for championships as they were last season, but they are nowhere near McLaren. Nowhere near.
The worst part about this for Ferrari is that if you look at the drivers' standings, neither of their drivers are in the top four. And it tells you that if Antonelli wasn't a rookie, if the Red Bull second seat was even remotely capable of being competitive, they would not be there. Verstappen has scored pretty much every single point that Red Bull have. And the gap between George Russell and Kimi Antonelli is almost 100 points now. It's like 85, 90 points between them. So it tells you that Ferrari are there simply through the fact that they have two competent and normal drivers that can get a job done. And the Ferrari itself, maybe not that quick.
I agree with you. I also think it's hilarious that you've just called Leclerc and Hamilton competent and normal.
In this scenario, they are.
Sure. Harry, mate. Mercedes, they just melted, didn't they?
like a flake on a hot summer's day. Yeah. I mean, I maybe that's why Antonelli did it. Turn 3. I can't be bothered. No. I mean, Russell gave it a good go to have some sort of battle with a front runner, with his very clean, as you said, Sam, very clean battle with Hamilton on the opening lap. Gave it a good go, but then after that, I don't think we saw him again for the rest of the afternoon. I think they knew they were going to struggle here, and then they did. I think, to be honest, was he going to walk away with anything worse? I think there is a risk, to be honest. I'm not going to say he did a great job to finish where he did, but I think he could have easily got frustrated and actually made things worse for himself, and he didn't. So I'll give Russell that.
He was only a few seconds clear of Bortoleto at one point. Wasn't a lot.
So I think, he probably managed it the best he could. But that Mercedes, I don't understand, because it was hot in Canada, right?
With softer tyres!
It was really hot. So that is an odd one. Maybe it's the corners, because different type of corners at Montreal than there is in Austria. Much longer, higher speed corners here. So that clearly is their weak point if it's hot. But yeah, quite odd how the difference a couple of weeks makes between two tracks for Mercedes. They will be praying that it is a cool summer's day here in the UK when we get to Silverstone, because they need it to be cool.
They really do. It's just mystifying because of how well they did at Canada, and I have to assume it's something to do with the track surface. Because again, there were softer tires in the range when we went to Canada compared to here. Not all that much, but we were using the C6 tire in qualifying in Canada. We only went to the C5 here, and it wasn't cold in Canada last time out. I appreciate it did warm up as the weekend went on here, which didn't help them whatsoever, but it just completely sapped away any competitiveness they had. As mentioned, he is at one point a few seconds clear of Bortoleto, who did a great job. If one of those midfield teams has an absolutely excellent day, Russell's vulnerable. He was vulnerable as it was, but even more vulnerable. So not a good one. Antonelli's the real winner here from not having to do that race. Sam, any further thoughts on Merck?
Boy, they've been melting. And that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
They're just going to work it out, don't they? They got to work it out. It's for this season, they can write it off, but they need to hope that for the new regulations, if you've been studying climate recently, it's only getting hotter. So yeah, they make sure that they can survive these hot climates, because I think it will get. We're in a heat wave here in the UK at the moment. I know for the rest of the world, that's like a warm, tepid day, and you all just kind of go out in a jumper. But we are going to apparently get cooler by Silverstone weekend, so they might be all right. But you can't go into an F1 season, going to race days and going, oh, we might be all right if it's a bit breezy, and hopefully we get a bit lucky with the cloud cover. They've got to build a car that can survive 80% of the races rather than an unlucky 20%. Yeah, he's been melting. I think a good job from Russell to end up finishing 5th, because that car was struggling today.
McLaren and everyone else absolutely quaking thinking about Vegas later this year. No chance at all.
Toto saying this massive glove song already, right? Can't wait.
Custom made.
Custom made gigantic gloves.
Right.
It's got an oven mitt on each finger.
Time for driver of the day.
The verdict is in. You're the driver of the day. You're the driver of the day. You're good at driving.
Driver of the day. Harry, who've you got?
I'm going to go real obvious. Lando Norris, driver of the day. Superb win. The more I think about it, you could even say his best yet. I know it clearly wasn't the most dominant, but I don't know whether that makes it your best ever. I think this is certainly in contention for his best ever. So, yep, I'm first, so I'm going to say Norris, the obvious one.
I'm not going to go with Norris this time out. Instead,
oh no!
Two L's.
Oh,
Double.
It's a YouTube exclusive joke.
Yes,
it's
barely a joke. Liam Lawson, what a great drive from him. He had Fernando Alonso half a second behind him for what felt like 4 days, but he held him off every single time. Had to do a one stop. They were one of the teams that very cleverly decided we're only going to bring one set of mediums and one set of hard tyres going into this race, which, given how hot it was, not the ultimate strat. That's basically led him onto a one-stop strategy, but he nailed it. Like, his tyre management was far better than a lot of drivers around, and 6th place at 8 points deserves the lot. Well played. Sam?
I'll keep it varied to go for something different, because I agree completely with both of your options, but I'll go Gabby Bortoletto. The toaster was functioning well in the heat, and it produced a double pop, 2 slices of toast.
Can I just be clear to new listeners? The toaster is the car, not Bortoletto.
Yes, just so we're aware, we call the Sauber a toaster because that's how crap it is most of the time, so it may as well be a toaster. But
we might have to stop calling it a toaster at this point, because it's actually been okay.
We shall come up with a new appliance for Alpine, who are clearly the worst car in Christendom right now.
It's all right. We've still got Singapore later this season.
That's it. Come on. Come on. Yeah, Gabby, great drive. First points in Formula One from 8th to 8th. Race story from 8th to 8th. That one-page novel. But to be fair, that doesn't do it justice. Yeah, great race pace. Does a brilliant 2-stop strategy. And to be honest, I think he gets 7th if it wasn't for the very awkward maneuver between Fernando Alonso and Lando Norris going into turn 4. If they didn't meet the lap traffic, the first cars at that moment, I think Gabby maybe just gets it. But nice to see them two have a little hug afterwards as well. Obviously, manager and managee.
That well-known word.
Managee! Grasshopper.
Sorry, at your work, Sam, is that what you call people that you manage, your managees?
Yes, that is. Hello, managees.
It's very Michael Scott of you.
Oh, good.
Right, worst driver of the day.
Get in the bin. Worst driver of the day. Bin. Worst driver of the day. You suck at driving.
Sam, I think there's a few contenders for this, but who are you going with?
Yeah, there are a few contenders. I shan't run through them. So first, I'm going to take the one that I thought really sucked, and that was Yuki Tsunoda. My boy just drove straight into the side of someone. And whilst other people did that, he was also really, really slow. So not good as well. So, Yuki, whilst the car is terrible for that second seat, you're not doing it any help. You're not doing yourself any justice. So, yeah, really bad.
Yeah, it's not great when you 3-stop a race because you're bored. That's basically what it felt like at the end of this race. We'll put him on some soft tyres with 8 laps to go because, why not? I was in a furious debate with myself, Ben's got hands, between Colapinto and Yuki Tsunoda. And I couldn't decide which one. And just in the corner of the room, Kimi Antonelli's just like hiding. Just maybe he won't notice me.
Don't look over here.
No,
Toto's big hands are trying to shelter him.
It's a me wall. But hey, I got you, Kimmy. I've spotted you in the corner. I'm going to give it to you because that was not his best moment, was it?
Hey, the boy gets a break. Come on, we know this.
Good news. Previous driver who hated that corner, Charles Leclerc, he's turned out all right. So maybe it's not the worst omen in the world.
Very good point.
Yeah. I think he hit Verstappen at about 300 miles an hour. Not ideal. You do have to brake.
Crashes like that, haven't we? Historically, we've seen a lot of crashes like that at that corner.
Yeah.
Can I just say, he said in his interview again on Sky, he said it wasn't to do with him braking too late. Are you sure, man?
Absolute.
Come on.
Twaddle, that is.
Toto's there with a graph like, so here's where George broke. And then if we, and opens up like the next, and
Everest.
This is where you broke.
He's not even in shot when we start watching the replay. Anyway.
Commentator thought it was Russell. That's how far back he was.
Yeah.
Who have you got, Harry?
It was a real race to the bottom between Kimi Antonelli, Franco Colapinto, and Yuki Tsunoda. I'd also potentially throw Stroll in there, but
he's got away with this one.
A little bit.
He's hiding behind Antonelli, isn't he?
Yeah. They don't know I'm here. But I'm going to go for Yuki Tsunoda because you're right. He drove into, I know Antonelli did drive into someone, but Tsunoda drove into Stroll and then also drove into Colapinto. So that's two for two on that one on Yuki. That is a bad day. And if anything highlights the current problems Red Bull have with their second seat, today was that day.
Yes. They are there on 162 points, whereas both Ferrari and Mercedes over 200 now. Not ideal. Big brain Strat.
Bob, we're gonna need you to box for wets. What? It's not even raining out. What are you talking about? Yeah, and Bob, if you get a chance, let your teammate pass you. What? He crashed out. He's not even in the race.
Lewis Hamilton hating his strategist. Just getting that in early.
That's going to be our mother at Ferrari this season. Lewis Hamilton's going to kill him, man.
What have you got, Sam?
I'm going to go with Ferrari again because it's always good to get them in there for their original award. My favourite today about strategy was, of course, having to manage the car, lift and co. Everyone, lift and co. Look like we have lift and co in all corners. I'm already doing that, Brian.
Lyco.
Yeah, bit of
Lyco. Stop calling it that. That's terrible.
Lift is one syllable, coast is one syllable, grow up.
That is such an unnecessary abbreviation, isn't it? It's like abbreviating Sam Sage to ESSA. Like, it's all right. It takes the same length of time. It takes the same length of time to say. Yeah, it was just his response to me, like, I've been doing this, Brian. Like, what more do you want me to do, man? And it's just not getting any better for them. Upgrades are not saving the car.
Harry, big brain Strat.
I'd written down, quote, that is what I am doing, Brian, because that's an excellent quote.
Yeah. I think we should get it on a t-shirt.
Yes. But I'm going for I don't want to stop as Lewis Hamilton's driving into his pit box.
I love the delayed radio.
Like that. I don't want to stop. You are stopping, son.
We've made it happen.
I love they just didn't engage in the debate. It's like, no, we are stopping. Okay. But I don't want to. Appreciate that, Lewis. Let's move on to Liam Lawson, Fernando Alonso, and Gabriel Bortoleto. Had a nice little battle over 6th, 7th, and 8th, and that is the order in which they finished. We've already had a couple of those drivers, Harry, be mentioned as part of the driver of the day chats, but good points for all three teams and all three drivers.
Yeah, very much so. Liam Lawson, this is the race. Could have done this one a little bit earlier, but all respect to him because it was a sensational race for him, executed very well. I know, as you said, Ben, he was kind of boxed into a corner by the fact they just didn't have the tyres. But he played it perfectly. I think, on a day when Red Bull scored no points, this was a very good message to send to the likes of Helmut Marko, Christian Horner, etc. That this is the Liam Lawson that we saw when he first jumped in that AlphaTauri in 2023, and obviously again towards the end of last year. It's the Liam Lawson that I guess got him the Red Bull seat to begin with. So it's been a long time coming, and I hope for his sake this form continues. But yeah, today was excellent, and I think much needed. Alonso, the two Saubers, I don't think that Aston Martin was actually very good again. The two Saubers, as we said, I don't think are actually terrible anymore. And to be fair, I mean, Bortoleto was great. But to be fair to Hulkenberg, he started so far down. That's actually that's a race that's probably going to fly under the radar as actually really good. So respect to him. But yeah, for both Saubers, I mean, this is mad. Both Saubers were in the points, and also their pit stops nowadays are ridiculous. Like, what? They couldn't put a tire. Valtteri Bottas is looking at that going, are you kidding me, guys? Have a laugh. So that, yeah, respect to them for the turnaround. But I think the car is genuinely getting better. And with that, Hulkenberg and now Bortoleto are delivering on that improved performance. I particularly enjoyed, I think a few more laps, Bortoleto gets past Alonso anyway, but those last couple of laps in the traffic, that was the master and the Padawan having a lesson in how to race. It was...
And the Magaji.
It was superb. It was Alonso was doing his like slowing down at the right points in a corner stuff, and Bortoleto got played like a fiddle for it. And I'm no disrespect to him because he was superb this race. I just think maybe a slightly more experienced driver would have got past slightly sooner. But yeah, that was Alonso giving him a free tuition lesson in how to defend. But for all of those drivers, that is a good afternoon. And as they said in Sky commentary, with the midfield being so tight, and let's not forget the Williams pair not in this at all. Those drivers all scoring points is mightily helpful for them. So a good solid afternoon's work for those drivers, because they took advantage. Obviously, there was a bit of chaos at lap one, but took advantage of that and all got some well-deserved points.
I think as part of the driver of the day chat, I gave Liam Lawson his flowers, but certainly the other drivers in this conversation deserve a lot of respect as well. Sauber, 3 teams scored double points today. Ferrari, McLaren and Sauber, as we all predicted. So well done to you. Bortoleto, that was definitely his best race weekend of the season so far. From Hulkenberg's perspective as well. Hulkenberg has gone from 20th to 9th, was the only driver, I believe, not to use the hard tyre, because why would you, Sauber? He was just using the soft and then 2 sets of mediums, and he still finds 11 places on where he started. And he wasn't that far away from his teammate at the end of the Grand Prix. If he doesn't mess up qualifying and he starts somewhere around 10th, that could have been a very, very good day for Nico Hulkenberg. But even as it was, gets a couple of points. As I said, Bortoleto, definitely his best race weekend of the season so far. Quite funny that he's actually scored points for the first time and doesn't move up in the championship because Liam Lawson scored more ahead of him, but he'll take his first points. Fernando Alonso. Oh, it put a smile on my face those last couple of laps because it's just so clever. He knows exactly what he's doing. Some of you idiots out there don't respect Fernando Alonso, and I have no problem calling you idiots. You can't watch that and not realise the genius of this man. He was playing the DRS absolutely perfectly. He was playing the traffic absolutely perfectly. And I am convinced 3/4 of the grid are getting overtaken by Bortoleto in those last couple of laps. And it's Alonso's experience, his guile, is just his racing brain that allowed him to stay ahead. I was so impressed with what he was able to do to finish ahead. And I don't think a lot of drivers would have held off Bortoleto there. So, Good one, idiots. Not a good day for you.
Alonso got hands. Do you think they still have that little cuddle after the race if Bortoletto did get past?
Now to be fired.
It feels like an Alonso thing to go hug his guy when he beats him.
Well done.
Yeah.
You're not as good as me.
Yeah, but you still suck in comparison to me. The absolute master. Good job, Grasshopper. That was great. That was great. Absolutely love that fight between them. Alonso was superb because that Aston Martin was really not good. That Sauber has come on leaps and bounds. Absolute full credit to the team they brought in there. Wheatley's turned up and decided to, like I said, kick down the door to the kitchen and blow the dust off the hobs and go, better rustle up some good grub for the rest of the team to start munching on, because he's bringing a feast over there from Red Bull. It's, I don't know how he's done it, but he's having a great time with it, which is great to see. And it's really nice to see them so competitive. And Audi, in theory, should turn up to 2026 and have somewhat of a competitive car now. They shouldn't be struggling all at the back. But I want to give a proper shout out to Liam Lawson. In the words of Lauren Mekies right at the start of this race, after the safety car came in, yes, Liam, he had a little bit of a crash. And he was absolutely sideswiped by this Mercedes Verstappen collision that happened directly next to him. It's like, he's just been absolutely belted, lost some places, had to drive off the racetrack. Poor Hadjar's at the back, having gone off both turn 1 and turn 3 because of this as well. But it could have gone so much worse. And I think Liam Lawson a few races ago would have, dropped his head, got caught up in traffic, would have struggled a little bit. But because he qualified so well, and he was able to then muddle his way through that drama, he really delivered a fantastic race. His tyre management here was essentially second to none. He was by far the best on his tyres that we've seen from him his entire time he's been here. And he delivered a really fantastic Grand Prix. Great on the mediums, bringing them 33 laps. Great on the hards to deliver that end of race pace. Got away from Alonso, who was breathing down his neck the whole time. Really, really impressive. So well done to Liam Lawson. The other guys are fantastic, but I haven't sung my praise for Liam Lawson. I'm regularly quite harsh on him. So brilliant race. Racing Bulls need it. And the championship at the bottom there gets much, much tighter. Unless you're Alpine, of course.
Yeah.
Can I just interject?
Please.
I've just seen this from Autosport. Oscar Piastri had some team radio that we didn't hear on the broadcast when Colapinto tried to sideswipe him, and it said, Alpine still managed to find a way to F me over after all these years.
Come on, Oscar.
What a line!
Man is racing at however many miles an hour trying to win a Grand Prix, and he still finds time to burn Alpine.
Absolute banger from you, Oscar.
That's so good.
Good work.
He hates that team.
Speaking of, there were a few incidents in this Grand Prix. I just wanted to run through and see if we all agree on what should have been the penalty, whether the right penalty was applied or not. Start with the first lap of the race. So we now know that Kimi Antonelli will get a 3-place grid penalty for Silverstone as a result of the incident between him and Verstappen. Obviously, he was out on the spot, so there was no opportunity to penalise him during this Grand Prix. Harry, I think he claimed the corner, so I'm not sure I agree with this one. Head at the apex
first, right?
Yeah. Honestly.
Look, I think, firstly, Antonelli, I know we joked saying he said he didn't get his braking too late, but he's held his hands up. This was all on him, and there's no way he couldn't, to be honest. It's a clear misjudgment that we've, sometimes expect from a rookie driver. And I'm sure he will learn from this. Having said that, there's a couple of races now, there's been a couple of incidents, I guess Monaco being in qualifying, but that cost him the whole race weekend. So yeah, it's something I'm sure Antonelli's going to learn from. Again, there was no intent here, and it's clear that he locked the rear brakes, and it was, from the point he'd locked the rear brakes, it was just trying not to have a crash. And obviously, that being such a tight corner on the first lap, the crash was inevitable. But I think there will be an element of just calming down, bit of caution here. It was quite a Formula 2 move. By the way, F2 this weekend, are they well?
And
no, no, they're not.
What are they all doing down there?
Blimey, that corner in particular, just don't like it. Clearly, Kimi thought he was still there for a bit, but so it was the rookiest of mistakes I think we've seen this year out of any of the rookies. But yeah, I think it'll be a tough one to swallow. And to be honest, I'm quite surprised. I mean, Verstappen was obviously irate on the radio. Thought he was going to be more mad. Quite frankly, I don't think he was that bothered about driving this afternoon. I don't think he thought he was going to have a good day. Because, I expected more, but he didn't look that phased when Kimi came up to him afterwards. So, yeah, it was a tough one, and he'll bounce back, I'm sure. But these things do happen. I think we joke about him not wanting to break, but I think maybe an element of caution, without dampening the speed that he has shown, an element of caution might have to start being injected into Kimi Antonelli a little bit.
3-place grid penalty fair, Sam?
No. Far too lenient. Should be at least a 5. But then again, he's got 2 penalty points in his license, and when Lando Norris drove into the back of Oscar Piastri, nothing, which is great. So that's good. It's good consistency from everyone once again. I'm actually surprised they penalised it at all, because it was on lap 1, and they love just going just a bit of rough and tumble between 2 pals, that is. And it was really quite bad from Kimi Antonelli. This is now 4 of the last 5 races where he has not scored a point. He's had 3 DNFs and an 18th place in the last 5 races. And of course, his podium that he picked up at Canada. Little bit worrying, just a little bit now. Needs a good end to this first half of the season. Needs to go into that summer break with a pretty solid performance. I'm not talking George Russell, I guess, being a clean race where he's there or thereabouts with his teammate and scores some points, because I know he's a rookie. He's going to make mistakes. This is a rookie mistake. We are halfway through the season at this point. This was a very, very rookie error and a very costly one to Mercedes. And I do think that he probably could have ended up in front of the likes of Lawson, Alonso, Bortoletto, that group there, and they could have walked home with some resemblance of decent point scoring. So, yeah, I think they should be a 5. I think he should have 3 penalty points. And I think that realistically, he's got off lightly for this. But who knows with the FIA, because there's no consistency at all.
Yeah, I think he can be quite happy with just a 3-place grid drop for the next Grand Prix. I tend to frown quite a lot on attempted murder, but he seems to have got off okay. Colapinto, he was involved in 2 incidents, one of which he was penalised for, one of which the other driver was penalised. Let's start with they both somewhat involve Yuki Tsunoda, but let's start with the one where there was contact between Colapinto and Tsunoda. That got Tsunoda a 10-second time penalty. Harry, did you agree with that one?
Yes. Do you know, the one that I found worse for Tsunoda was the Stroll one than this one.
No penalty for that, right?
No, nothing.
No, Stroll gives him all. I mean, Tsunoda comes from miles back. Stroll gives him all the room in the world, and Tsunoda still rams him off the circuit, but nothing for that one. That's fine. So that again is inconsistency playing havoc again in the stewarding room. Maybe they thought they messed up and thought they'd make this one 10 seconds because he'd done it twice. I don't know. But the penalty...
I actually wouldn't put it past the stewards doing that either. Genuinely wouldn't go, just double this one because we forgot the last one.
Forgot about the last one. But yeah, I think the penalty for applying a penalty for the Colapinto one is fair. I would, and I don't remember off the top of my head, and I should have gone and looked at this beforehand. We've had a lot of accidents like that at that corner. Mm-hmm. What were the penalties applied? Do we know? Because I don't think 10. Yeah, I feel like they were less than 10 seconds. So maybe this one's been overly harsh. But yeah, that's just inconsistency. Having a penalty correct, and maybe they did just double it because they didn't do the Stroll one. I don't know, but. Yeah, it wasn't great from Tsunoda. Very, very deserved penalty for that one.
Yes, I agree. I'm fine with 10 seconds, and I would have given the other one 10 seconds as well. Sam?
Agreed. Fine with 10 seconds. We'll give the other 10 seconds as well for the Stroll situation. I also would have given Colapinto a penalty for running Behrman off the track as well, which he just
I forgot about that one.
Straight off the track as well. And then, of course, the Piastri incident, which was real heart in the mouth kind of stuff there. So, you're about to wipe out the guy challenging for the lead and the championship leader. That's it's just like he wasn't there. It's like he didn't know he was there. It was bizarre, but yes, also penalty worthy.
Yeah, I think my TV was acting up because I could see it's a 5-second penalty. For...
Yeah. I think actually that's just the stewards being crap again, mate.
Did they not mean 50 or 500. 5 seconds. 5 seconds. He was a lapped car.
Get out of the way, mate.
Come on. I audibly gasped at that one. I really thought that could go south. I thought it should have been more than 5 seconds. So.
Speaking of penalties, this is so irrelevant. So sorry to all listeners. And so you're not on the podcast. But if you're watching on Sky, there's an Audi advert at the moment where it has 5 a cappella singers sat in the car going, "We like to move it," or "physically fit," or whatever it is. And I hate it so much. And I would like them to penalise whoever made that. And Audi can start actually with a grid penalty for next season because it is awful.
Congratulations to Sky Sports and their adverts. They have made sure that I will never use Workday in my goddamn life.
I hate that one. That's banned.
Never. Not touching it.
I want to be a rock star every day.
Fire the word rock star all the time. Harry, what was your moment of the race?
I will go for Carlos Sainz's car not wanting to be extinguished ever. Just no. I'm so. That's how I feel, or we feel in the UK at the moment.
Put me out.
Just please put me out. Please extinguish me. Yeah, I had a couple of ones written down, but they fell into the big brains trap, which were just Ferrari. That's what I am doing. Brian really got me.
Yeah. James Vowles with his head in his hands.
Just like,
don't look at me.
I've got a really bad headache.
I think that's a fair one. I'm going to go with just the Piastri and Norris battle.
Yeah.
Just a lot of fun, wasn't it? Particularly in a season where you've got such a dominant team and you have quite a few races where that dominant team is just so far away from everyone else. You really need those intra-team battles to keep things interesting. And that's what we got here. We actually got even the laps where they weren't side by side, you had 20 laps of a move could be made at any moment, which was great to watch. Sam?
That was mine. I'll offer up something different just for the sake of it. Hamilton go around the outside of Lawson through turn 6. I thought it was a really, really fun battle. I know that there was a slight difference on tyres there, but it was a really, really fun battle. I thought Lawson put up a good defence, and I thought it was risky but fun for Hamilton to get through the traffic like that. Like that a lot.